I got my mic back. I know we're going to do something else, but I need to start by saying this. This is a super old Gefell UM70. This thing hasn't worked for like 6 years because the whole process, like, incredible mic, super long story, super short. Gefell, German company, basically, this is kind of like a budget U87.
Okay.
Essentially. They're pretty cheap to get your hands on one of these, especially if you find a used one, because nobody really knows what they are. They're not that popular, but they sound killer. They're on a lot of really cool records, but when it breaks, it's a nightmare to fix because not a whole lot of people know how to fix this mic. And what I found was sending it back to Gefell. It's been there like 3 times. It had never gotten fixed. It is super expensive to do, and they give you like a lead time of like over a year to get it repaired. It's a lot of money. You're going to not have it forever. So I found somebody in Nashville to do it. PTW, shout out down there. This dude had it turned around in 5 days.
Ooh.
Like,
Nice.
He had it on his bench one day. He was like, oh, it's good. Here's the bill. Paid it and emailed it right back to me, and it works. It freaking works, and I'm stoked. I plugged it into the camera setup right before you got here just to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to mess with this thing again.
Is this the mic that you have the chart for over here? It's posted.
No, that's a different one.
That's a different one.
That's a different one because this one is. Ooh, hello. This one is switchable, but it's like right here, and like you have your EQ and pad down there, but the whole thing is the handle is an amplifier.
Whoa.
And then the head is the capsule, and like you could switch out different heads for different amps, and it was a whole thing. So
That's a cool idea.
yeah, and it sounds incredible.
Is there anything else like that that's more modern with something similar where you can
Switch
swap
heads?
Yeah.
Oh, I think a fair amount of mics you can do that with. All my Soyuz stuff, you can switch out all the heads on those. So like you can put a bomblet on an 017. Yeah, pretty cool.
Have you done much experimenting with any of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah? Nice. Any fun combos we should hear about?
It gets convoluted pretty quick, but
Yeah.
you get some interesting sounds.
Like convolution.
Yeah.
Welcome. Hello. Thanks
are
for
you?
stopping back in to Phantom Power Hour virtually, not physically.
They're virtually stopping in?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the sign says open, so you just come on in and sit down and get comfy.
I don't remember which one of my friends it was, but in high school when everybody kind of started driving for the first time, I remember whenever we would get cut off, one of my friends would just scream, "Yeah, sure, called my mom, come on over." So sign's open, come on in.
Come on in, sit down, eat you a can of corn.
Ooh, it has the juice.
It's corn. So you've put my feet to the fire with studio builds.
Mm-hmm. And literally.
And you literally caught me on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Today we're turning the tables, as they say. So among many things of which you are accomplished, one of those is as a bass player.
That's a word you could use, and I'll take it. I won't fight you on it. I'm not going to say you're right, but...
I'm right. So when you get your screen cap going here...
Down, up, down, up, down, up, down.
You did that exactly opposite.
I did. I did the opposite of what you did. But that was extremely helpful.
But
when
you went
did that.
down and you went up.
But that's the way that the page is moving. Right? You're going down the page.
Okay.
See, this is the same as the pals. Did you catch on to this? I don't think you and I talked about this. When we're talking in the session and they say, pull that back, what do you think you are doing with the clip?
Towards the end of the song.
Really?
Is that not what you think?
No, when I hear pull it back, I think bring it back in time. So towards the beginning of the song.
Oh. No,
especially when you say pull. And then I would say push it forward some. If I said push the clip forward,
I would go towards the beginning of the song.
maybe I'm the wrong one here. I don't know. My whole life, I've thought it the other way. I've thought it like it's a timeline. So let's speak in terms that are synonymous with how we speak about time.
So as you progress through the song, you're moving forward.
Through the song.
Through the song.
And through time.
I mean, that makes sense. But if we're thinking like, I don't know. I don't know how to justify what I'm thinking. But now that you say that, I definitely think forward towards zero.
That's so weird to me.
I mean, I get your point. You're wrong, but I get it.
And I've talked about this with the pals ad nauseum. Like, I understand their perception of it too. But for me, it's like...
But do they think like I think?
Mm-hmm. But my mind is like, why in this one scenario are we talking complete opposite?
It makes no sense. I get it.
And one of their main arguments is, well, when you say play on the back of the beat, you're talking about after the beat has happened.
After the beat.
And I was like, you're right. And I accept that term and I use it all the time.
And that's still time.
It's still the opposite of how we speak about time. Yeah.
Yeah, because anything back, because we talk about beats so much. I don't know. That'd be interesting. I need to flesh that one out. I need to think about it in the moment.
Yeah. Next time you're moving around, you're talking to somebody.
I got my wheels turning. But stop distracting me.
I'm just prolonging the inevitable.
Here's what is going to happen. So I built how many studios for you at this point? 2.
2, yeah.
So we're going to do a bass build. And here's the thought. And obviously this is coming from, like, I know I have some basses. I can play bass. I'm not a bass player.
Mm-hmm.
The thought process here, we're going to have a budget, and maybe we need to address the budget because I have a number in my head, but if that's not realistic, you need to let me know. But
okay, $10.
The idea would be you can be a flexible player.
Okay.
With this, something happened to your gear. Who knows? It's gone. Maybe your house burned down.
Oh man!
But you have this fixed budget to replace everything.
Okay. I want to say you have done two studio builds for me. Never once did I metaphorically burn down your house. And you're just coming at me with all this badness.
I'm creating a sense of urgency. I have to give an unnecessary
I'm just distraught.
Here.
If my house burns down, I'm canceling my gig.
Okay, let's assume you are stable.
Okay. Mentally, physically, emotionally.
You've worked through things, and now it's time to rebuild.
You've seen your therapist at least 7 times. You're fine.
And you clearly have a background knowledge of bass. Mm-hmm. Feel free to use that.
Okay, good.
So moving forward, you have to be able to play shows.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to be somewhat mobile.
Okay.
Because those shows could take you Lord knows where.
This is true. Okay.
You want to have a good gear list to where you could go to a studio and do just about whatever they need.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you're a well-rounded individual making an income with this.
Making an income, so professional level,
mm-hmm.
Trying to get good tones, but trying to get good tones in whatever style, genre is thrown my way.
Yes. And I mean, obviously keep in mind too, like there might be some pieces that you need to pick up, but in a lot of these instances, coming to a studio, there's going to be some pieces there that you could utilize.
That's true. But live,
keep that in your head.
Okay.
And the number I'm thinking for this is $3,000.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
3,000, and I need versatility.
It's not going to be easy.
No. I could spend that much. I could need more for one single instrument.
For sure.
But I think it's doable.
See, I built a whole studio for
1,000.
1,000 and then 5,000.
And then 5, yeah.
So I figured right in between there, you could be a player.
I think so. Okay.
They might not be all killer options or the best choice. I'm thinking versatility, what allows you to fit into multiple situations and what gives you the tools to do like these multiple jobs.
Yeah. I like this. Let's see.
What are the pieces that you think you need?
Well, I for sure need to figure out my amp situation. I think with that budget, head and cab would be my preferred direction to go, especially in a studio sense. There might be other cabs available if we even go that. There's a possibility of going direct. But you know, for me, even if I'm recording direct with no cab, I still like to use my head in that chain, in that signal flow, because I know the sound and I know how to manipulate it. We'll talk about this more. From my amps and my head, I really prefer an incredibly transparent sound. I don't like having a characteristic imprint on my coming from the head itself. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. So I'm thinking head and cab of some kind, and then what was that?
With basses, are you thinking? Would you go all out on one, or would you get multiple to cover
instrument wise?
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to think. I'm gonna look into it. As a player, normally live, I'm normally just a one bass guy. I have a bunch of them.
But if you're looking at this from a standpoint of a professional, do you need a backup?
You should have one. In that context, best case scenario, I have two of everything. I don't have that now.
I mean, I don't know many people touring with like multiple amps, but I understand what you're saying.
Instrument wise, bass wise, I think we'll look, because I have a few ideas. I need to look at pricing and see what the good options are. In a real world scenario, if I'm doing more studio work than live work, or even an equal amount, it would be a good move to have a P bass and a J bass of some kind. Not because they're necessary to get the exact sound, but they're well received, and it's easier to get those sounds with those tools.
For sure. And there may be an instance where a producer literally is asking for a P bass.
Exactly. But then I have to wager a lot of studios have at least a bass or something, but not all of them.
Most of the time in disrepair. Even mine, as a bass player,
Yeah.
it's not in good repair. My preamp is shot.
Yeah.
Can't get power to it. I don't know why. I need to figure that out.
Gotta get some corn so I can have the juice. That's called a callback.
Welcome to Phantom Comedy Hour.
That's a job I don't think I could thrive at. Obviously, at least one bass, maybe two. We'll look at the budget, see what makes sense. I'm going to also throw strings into the mix, because I think that's a valuable asset.
Interesting.
Especially for studio work, for versatility. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then I'm going to have to look at some pedal options. Super useful in the studio and in a live context, depending on the type of gig I get, the type of sound I need to go with, how I'm trying to blend in or poke through whatever type of band environment I'm playing in. We're assuming professional type of player. So do I need to worry about it filling a room without the help of a PA?
Probably not.
Okay. So I'm either able to DI into a house mix or get mic'd if that's what I prefer to do.
Yeah. I mean, even like relatively small venues, I feel like that's a reality.
Yeah. Not all dive bars, I'll tell you that much.
But if you have, even the smallest amp can fill a dive bar, I feel like.
Usually. And again, pro level, I'm not going for a 15 watt rumble amp.
Right.
So I'm not going for any rumble stuff. Sorry, guys. Let's see.
Shade right off the bat. So what's the first step here?
I think my first piece of the puzzle, I have some ideas instrument wise, but I want to have a clear idea of what budget is left over after the amp. Because head and cab will take a big chunk of the budget if I want a nice pro level amp and cab. So let's see.
Are you going to look at the used market as well?
You tell me. Is the used market allowed?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, I know Sweetwater, we're super close to Sweetwater. and probably one of the few websites that has like this amount of things we can look at once. But yeah, definitely you can check used. I mean, that's what I would be doing if I had an insurance check because my house burned down.
This is true. Well, let me pull up a good old reverb here. The other tough part about used amps, at least, is sometimes the shipping cost is what really doesn't make it worth it.
Maybe there's a local pickup.
There could be.
Custom Jazz Master. There you go.
Oh, actually, I love this color.
Some music, man, right there. So are we looking at basses first?
I'm going to look at bass amps first because
Why?
I want to get that dialed in, and
Pun intended.
I personally, we touched on this last episode a little bit of you can get really good sounds from instruments that aren't necessarily the best.
Yeah.
And there are going to be some things that, especially at the pro level, you don't want to deal with. Mainly the feel of the instrument, but also like the pickups that are in it, something like that. But the pickups themselves, that's a low budget kind of replacement thing in comparison to a full-blown amp rig, especially for a bass player. And I just want to see what type of chunk of cash is going to be taken out of this $3,000 allotment for my amp setup. That way I can justify, am I getting 2 basses? Am I maybe getting 3 basses? What kind of pedals am I going to be looking into? That kind of stuff.
And the other reason I came up with like that $3,000 mark is if you were really kicking it for like a month, that's basically like a month's worth of work.
Yeah.
With decent paying like session gigs, or I mean that's very dependent on location stuff. It's kind of when I was doing quick and dirty math in my head.
Got some sessions during
2 months, you're paid off.
You got some sessions during the week. You got some live gigs on the weekends.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out what that number was to where it's sustainable. Because obviously, if I give you a $10,000 budget and you can knock it out, but will that ever get paid off?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if my house burnt down, I get that insurance money.
Right.
No, I'm with you here. I think it's a good budget. It is something that opens room to explore the professional realm, not the high shelf kind of equipment in terms of instruments specifically, but it's also, I don't think it's out of reach for a lot of people that want to pursue this as a living, especially when you consider.
I mean, if that's your buy-in for a career, it's not
bad.
No.
And more often than not, that's really not your buy-in because you're slowly accumulating these things over time. So let's see here. I definitely don't want a fridge. I love the way the cabs on these fridges sound, like the 8x10 or 6x10 Ampeg things. But I'm not hauling that around. I drive a sedan, so I'm trying to put something in my trunk. This is also a tangent, but think about this for a little bit, guys. I got a sedan because I like the feel of them. You get a little bit better gas mileage, but the real big reason was I do a lot of traveling through a lot of cities where I have to keep my gear in the car overnight. Else I'll have to bring it into wherever I'm staying. And I'm not trying to haul my entire rig into a hotel room, into a host home, whatever the case may be, night after night, right? If I'm traveling solo, not with my band. But I have a trunk that's big enough to fit a 4x10 cab in it. So that's, if I had an 8x10, can't do that. Can barely fit it in a sedan in the first place.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned being mobile.
$500. That's local too.
It is local.
That's a lot of air.
It's a lot of air. A lot of air that I'll never get to use. It does feel nice though.
So question, from a guitar player's perspective, when I'm looking at like amps and cabs, I focus way more on the cab. Just because amps to me, like there's different flavors and there's different, like sure, there's a lot I can do on the front end with an amp to make it do just about anything I want to do. There's just different varieties, right? But the cab is what makes the biggest difference to me. How does that work with you in your mind? Or are we even in a price bracket to where we can make that kind of judgment call.
I don't know if this is a price bracket that grants that luxury. I do agree with you. I think that it's really underrated how much of a tonal difference the speaker makes in comparison to the circuitry of the amp. Especially, it arguably maybe even more important for bass, because we don't have, unless you're getting a tube style amp, which I'm not looking for in this setup.
Being on like class D, maybe. Keep it light, powerful.
Light, powerful, and more reliable. It's going to be packed up over and over again. I can just throw it in the car. Don't have to worry about it setting up right. And you don't want it to be in the cold or heat for too long, but I don't have to worry about fragile tubes or anything.
Right.
Yeah. So all that said, cabs make a huge difference, not only with how much air is being pushed, but how is it resonating in the cabinet itself to help you feel what you're playing as well as hear what you're playing. The type of speaker matters as well. But to be super honest, I'm much more of a let me try it and see how I like it kind of person, instead of I need this Celestian greenback from this year in one slot, and I need this.
That's me. I'm that guy.
I love nerding out about that stuff. And honestly, I've learned more and experienced more of that side in the guitar realm.
Interesting. That's interesting. A tangent for another day, possibly.
Indeed, a very fun tangent. That stuff is cool. For me, I'm more of a, and this could be predicated on how I've gotten most of my experience playing through different gear. I think so invaluable to. You don't want to be annoying about it, but go to your local music store. And if you can, bring your own bass that you're using and gigging with and writing with, and plug it into the different setups they have. Obviously, be respectful. Don't turn it up to where you're rumbling the room and slap as fast as you can. Nobody wants that, and that's not useful for you. But be respectful, exploring tones of your own instrument from your own fingers through the different types of rigs that they have. If you're looking to upgrade yours and you want to step into spending a lot of money on something that's going to make you money, because going into it blind can be scary, and it can be even scarier if you don't like what you get. With that said, in this price range, I'm a huge fan of Mark Bass stuff, because they have these like filter knobs. I think they call them vintage low frequency and vintage something else. But that's kind of like the sauce, the character that you can imprint. It also helps a lot getting more versatile tones, more so than just having your EQ knobs there. But without all that, they're very clear and punchy, and they retain the low end super well. Obviously, different lines from Mark Bass is different in supporting that. But I'm pretty keen on the Mark Bass stuff, and that's where a lot of my formative years were built, training my ear. I love Ashdown gear, but that's more of a specific flavor, and it's going to be eating into the budget, being more akin to boutique style things.
I saw that Aguilar tone hammer up there.
I love Aguilar stuff. I wouldn't want that to be my only rig, though, which is why I don't own one. I've used them a bunch. I absolutely love them for the sound that they make. But Aguilar, to me, fits in the same world as Fender and Ampeg for bass, where you get this flavor, and it's a very good flavor. But if you want to transition that into something else, you're still going to have a little bit of that taste in there, So Mark Bass, in your mind, or at least what you're hunting for, is something as neutral as possible? Yeah. In guitar terms, everybody's on the hunt for a good pedal platform, right? For me, I'm on the hunt. I want my amp to sound at the most basic level like a louder version of what my bass and my fingers sound like. And then I can alter that with the amp if I need to or want to, in terms of the EQ. Like I said, the Mark bass heads have some parameters that you can change to help out with that. Some other amps, even the Class D stuff, have different drives built in that you can try to add some flavor to and stuff. But
So if that was the ultimate goal, why not just get like a cheaper, just straight up PA amp and run a cab?
you could. It's honestly something that I haven't tried. I've played through PAs just bland before, but
Or like just a PA amp into a cab.
some cats do that. They'll get like a rack crown
Yeah.
or something, go into an amp. I don't have personal experience doing that. I don't know, man. From everything that I've played, I could be totally wrong about this, but it feels like there still is something happening under the hood that really appeals to the feel of what I'm playing, that is transparent but not sterile.
Okay.
Every time
Yeah.
that I've played through just a PA or straight in, without anything else going on in the signal chain, it is clear and transparent, but it's also sterile. So
Okay.
I don't want sterility. Gensler is a really good option. Have you ever seen these tiny little ones that
No.
they have? Dude, they are beasts. 450 watts, 350 watts on this one, but tiny, tiny little amp that you can fit in like the front pocket of a gig bag.
I had a dark glass for a short amount of time, and that thing was almost too loud,
Yeah.
and it was so small.
Dark glass is a really good option as well for an amp. I've never used their cabs, but their
I hadn't
heads
either. The heads can get super clean or not.
really, really aggressive.
Yeah.
If you had told me that my main gig was going to be something heavy, I would most definitely go down the dark glass route.
Could be.
It could be. I don't know, but I need
You're
versatility.
playing all kinds of stuff.
That's true. We did a like a jazzy Motown type of vibe in here on your dark glass,
Yeah.
and it sounded wonderful.
Yeah. On
sounded
the
really
clean,
good.
on the vintage side of it. Yeah. I like that amp. It was just so loud. You had to run it at like not even 1.5, and it would make that amp, my cab, a 410 Ampeg HLF, it would just make it scream. Oh, we're looking at dark glass.
Yeah, there's tons of dark glass pedals, which is my. Maybe this makes me like. Maybe I've adopted a lot of guitar mentality, but I do like, if I'm altering my tone in a significant way, I do like that to be from the pedals and let the pedal sound like what the pedal sounds like, as opposed to, like I keep coming back to, as opposed to having a predisposed tonal shape just applied over everything. I don't want an Instagram filter on every single thing I play. But I'm trying to look for heads, not pedals right now. Ooh,
We'll type in
the other option though. I can get a Tone X.
And would you
Go into a
how would you
power amp.
amplify it? To with like one of those Seymour Duncan pedal things?
Could, or just get a powered unit, a powered amp unit. But I wouldn't want like the monitor size type ones. That works okay for guitar, but not for bass. I'm gonna take that idea out the window. That would be more trouble than it's worth, I think. Let me go back over here for a second.
It's been how long?
You're way faster.
30 minutes.
You're way faster at all this
We
than I am.
haven't picked anything.
Microtubes. See, and this is why I was talking about how much it would eat up my budget. Because the head alone could be around $1,000 if I wanted to get something that I can stick with for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
$3,000 for the entire microtubes and cab setup. That's my whole budget right there.
Yep.
What do Gins bins run? These are worth talking about too, if they have any on Sweetwater. They don't.
They don't.
Josh got this wrong. He was going on and on about Ginsler.
They have the conventional bass cab setup. You have your 2 or 4 woofers, whatever size you go with. Sometimes they do like a 3x10 or 3x12 setup. But then they have an array of either 3.5 or 5-inch speakers down the middle, like an array of 4 or 5 of them, instead of just a single tweeter. So you get this really pronounced high end, but it also, you can manipulate like the high mid frequencies a lot more minutely than you would if you only had a single tweeter and then your woofers. Very cool, very punchy sound. And then you can also kind of push more of the bass through the woofers. There's a built-in crossover on it. I've never owned one. I've just played them on a couple showroom floors. Sounds fantastic. But I don't see any of those anywhere. So, and I need to hurry. I'm going to go with what I know best. Going to go with some mark bass stuff. I know what a bunch of these sound like. I could go the TC Electronic route. Their cabs sound... Oh, Sweetwater doesn't sell
mark bass?
I guess not. Reverb it is. They might have a deal with Guitar Center.
Probably.
Yeah. The little Mark II head was my main gigging head for the longest time. Just go with head first and we can find a cab. And again, this is only because it's what I have a lot of experience with. Everybody's going to have a different flavor they want to go with, a different choice for the amp stuff. But my ear is very well attuned to how to manipulate all the mark bass sounding things. These Tube 800s are really cool. They have a mini tube in the preamp, and then you can blend how much of the tube and how much of the dry signal that you want.
I think I had a Hartkey amp that was like that. I had no idea what I was doing with it.
You don't need to. Let your ears guide you, you know? I'm going to go with the Little Mark Tube 800. Make sure it's in respectable condition.
So you have the Tube 800 for $575?
Yep, Tube 800, $575. Like I said before, it has the mini tube in it that can be blended in. It also has the Mark Bass VLE and VPF filters, which provide some really cool sounds. The other cool thing about the Mark Bass stuff is it has a combi jack input as well that you can use for various things. I'm not extremely sure why they ever included it, but
in case you want to have a mic or something?
I have used it to get a balanced input from a DI on my board, and then just use that DI as a dedicated preamp, and it's worked really well.
So then are we looking at cabs?
Yeah, I'm going to start looking at a Mark Bass cab because, again, my ear's pretty attuned to these, but I might look up Ashdown cabs as well because my ear is pretty attuned to those also. I could go 410. Oh, this is a Neo.
Like neodymium, like extra light.
Those get a lot of hate in the bass community. There's a lot of split communities on you need ceramic or Neo's fine. I was pretty just on the fence. I didn't really know. Not a lot of experience. My current rig is neodymium, and I love it. It's so light. I can carry a 410 with one hand and get in and out of the gig with a single trip. Sounds great. Wow, why are you only $500? So I'm trying to figure out. It's a $350 price drop. Says it's very good condition.
Desperate. Local pickup only, though. You driving to Pennsylvania?
Oh, man, I was hoping you'd drive for me since you set my house on fire. See, let's hop back over to Sweetwater real quick. I want to see what Ashdown options they have. Oh, we saw this one the other day. I might get this
A 610?
just because it's only $600.
Huh.
I haven't played through the Evo 2, but
5 stars.
yeah, there's not a single piece of Ashdown gear that I haven't loved.
See, this is totally the wrong take to have, and I'll admit that before I say it. But the Mark Bass speakers are really ugly.
They there's no hiding them.
Yeah.
There's no hiding them. There is, I think it's a Marcus Miller signature, all blacked out one. That looks kind of cool. I don't love the felt out on the outside that gets all like hairy and stuff, and I don't love ports on the top. Did you see the
color? Like rotten
all yellow
old mustard.
Yeah,
not even orange, not yellow.
I'm feeling adventurous. I know the kind of sound I'm going to get out of my cab or out of my amp. I know that all the Ashdown stuff that I've played, I've really liked the sound, cab wise, and this seems like a great deal. $400 off, $600 for a 6x10 cab. So if I really do want to push a lot of air on stage,
$1175. You got room to work, and that's a heck of a setup.
I think that was going to be the hardest part for me, honestly, is deciding what my amp rig was going to be.
Okay.
Let's go basses.
You still have like 1825 to work with.
1825 basses. Hopefully some tone shaping pedals and effects style pedals as well. But I'm not going to keep a ton of budget for that.
Here's the thing to think. I went over on the studio build. We had 5,000. That's the idea.
Yeah.
If you go over by a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I don't think the penalties are... We're not going to burn down your house again. That's all I'm saying.
It's already ashes. It won't even catch fire.
And you got an ash down. So.
Oh. Pew, pew, pew. All right. Basses. So I will go 5-string. I'm a 5-string guy. That my first bass ever was a 5-string.
Tangent. That little... Is that a Mexican Mustang right there?
This one?
The blue guy? The PJ?
I think so, because it's the Paul Farrow one, I think.
That is a monster. It is so fun to play.
I haven't played this one.
It's like a 3/4 size too, I believe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, short scale.
Yep.
One of the dudes, when I mix broadcast at church, he has one there, and I play it. It's so comfortable. Killer little bass. I know nothing about bass, though. I just saw that, and I was like, that thing's fun to play. Like, if I purchase a cheap bass, it's probably going to be that. Because I don't have a P bass.
It's true, and you get best of both worlds with the PJ. This is also a tangent. Yeah, it's Mexican. That's what I was looking for, the serial number. If for whatever reason you're in the market for an extremely cheap beginner bass, maybe for a kiddo or for yourself or something, I have experienced a lot of them working with kids that are just now starting to play bass. And
through teaching.
By far, the best one that I have played under $200 is it's the Squire Bronco.
Really?
I think it's $150. You get one little cheap looking plastic Bronco pickup.
Yeah.
It's short scale. Every one I've played maybe 6 or 7 of them, just pulled out of the box from Fender. Every single one of them has a better setup than any of the other Squire lines that I've played out of a box. And the pickup is not versatile. You only have one, but the overall tone to me is more usable and enjoyable. Whereas if you get like the Affinity Series Squire or P basses, also great options, but the tone out of those to my ear is not as representative of what your fingers are doing as comparison to this in comparison to the Bronco. Which, take that for what it's worth. It's a great bass, especially for a little kid that's smaller and can't reach the first fret on a full-size bass.
So are you getting a Bronco? Is that what you're saying?
Not for a professional rig. I need something that stays in tune.
So you buy a Bronco and then some aftermarket tuners.
And an aftermarket bridge. And an aftermarket pickup.
And some nut sauce.
And maybe an aftermarket neck.
And
an aftermarket body.
So this is a question. I keep derailing you with questions.
That's okay.
So
you can't make fun of me for taking long on this.
Tuning stability on a guitar. Like I mentioned, nut sauce. That was a hack that I learned. It works so well.
Or like the graphite in the
graphite too, but the nut sauce works so much better.
Yeah.
Do you do anything like that for bass, or does it matter at that that scale of string? Do they get stuck in the bridge like that?
To be honest, I didn't even understand that string instruments could go out of tune until I started playing guitar. Like, obviously I knew that you had to retune them, but while playing them, I never ever had a problem with my basses going out of tune while playing, unless I had
in general
crazy
basses
old strings.
seem more stable. And maybe it's the tension.
There are some much more budget friendly instruments that, from what I can tell, it's more tuning knob, like tension and stability. That's the problem. I have played some where the bridges, the saddles will lower themselves under the kind of high tension that bass strings have. But at the end of the day, that's not like a while you're playing thing. That's over the course of a week or two. You notice that, oh, my E string's super low right now. And then you just raise it back up.
Interesting.
But as far as like in the moment tuning stability issues, I've never used anything on my nuts. I've never used anything on my nut to keep it stable on bass. Guitar, for sure, especially my Gretsch.
Yes.
My Gretsch is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Basses, I've got, what do I have, 1800?
You have 1825.
1825. I want to get something versatile for the studio and different sounds. I'm usually a dual jazz pickup guy. However, for versatility, a PJ might be the move.
Could go with a Music Man.
I could, but that's not versatile at all.
But they have that low end.
They do, but what if I need to do a jazz gig that requires like
Screw
chordal
jazz.
and
Screw jazz.
Let's look at Sadowski first. Sadowski has a more budget-friendly line.
I didn't realize
That's
they had
not it.
budget-friendly stuff.
Yes.
I only know they're high-end.
Budget-friendly in terms of, we're not talking like $600 budget-friendly, but like $1050 for a PJ. That's a Sadowski.
That covers both of your bases right there.
It does. Sadowski feels great, but it's a 4-string. That's a big problem. I'm probably going to have to pay a premium to get a 5. There's a 5. That's not bad. 1115. That'll leave me with roughly 600.
Yeah.
600 can do a lot of damage with all the extra amenities.
And you could even buy yourself a Mexican bass too.
I could. There's this one, that metallic blue. Let's check this out. If I get this, from my background and style, I can get 99.99% of every tone that I would want out of this.
Mm-hmm. There's a demo unit for 1,000.
Done.
Save you some money.
Done.
What color is it?
Candy apple red still. Not exactly my vibe. Not my vibe, but and we've got a maple fretboard, which I would pick. Get something a little bit brighter. And it's a bolt-on neck. For something that would be my.
I like bolt-ons. Like,
I do too.
You can do so much more work on them.
That's what I was gonna say. For my main workhorse, try to get everything done on this one type of bass, I would go bolt-on. Gives you a little bit more of the punch. You lose a tiny bit of the sustain that you'd get from like a neck through or single cut, but for most of the stuff that you would need to do, I think bolt-on's the way to go.
So you see more versatility in going like with JJ. Why if you were picking one bass, why would you go JJ and not PJ?
Because that is most of my experience has always been single coiled JJs.
Now, as a studio guy, if I'm like, oh, it's a real bummer you don't have a P.
How many times have we used a P?
Because you don't have one.
Yeah. But it's always worked out. Now, what I was going to say, though, I still have almost $1,000.
Yeah.
So I was going to go and get like a more budget-friendly P, throw some flat wounds on it.
All right.
And that's kind of the move there. If I wanted to blow all my bass budget on one bass, in this specific scenario, I would go PJ because of what you're saying. I was giving you a hard time. It is really important to have that kind of versatility. If I had more budget and I needed to spin it on one bass, I would try to find something that had like coil splitting or something like that in there, so I could cover more bases. But let's go with that. See what kind of more affordable P bass options we have. And for this, that's going to be mainly for tracking or specific songs or even gigs if a specific artist needs me to play live. I don't have to have a 5, and it doesn't have to be great. It just needs to give me the P bass sound.
Mm-hmm. Sorted by that's $449.
Yeah, the classic vibe. I haven't played
classic vibes those are darn good.
I haven't played one. I've heard lots of demos. They sound great. But
49.
I might actually see what the Sire prices are.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I get a PJ.
That's more expensive.
Not much though, and I just enjoy the overall quality of the Sire series over the Squire series.
Okay.
However, they only have PJ options, and none of them, I hate to say it, but some of the appeal for a P bass is the aesthetic from the people that don't know much.
For sure.
And I think that if I'm buying this for the specific use case of being a P bass, I need to tick the box of the aesthetic.
See, I've literally tracked with that, the classic vibe, the 449 one. Sounded great.
Yeah.
Sounded awesome.
We've talked about this before, but the era that we're living in for instruments it's truly hard to find just a downright bad one in the budget realm.
I don't care for the Affinity series. Like, that gets a little chintzy, but if it's your first go, but we're talking pro, like, I would not.
Here we go. Here's like the classic vibe 60s.
Yeah, it's just a different color.
I thought the other one said 70s. Am I wrong?
Oh, did it?
Oh, no, that was also 60s. My bad.
Oh, I was looking at the 70s one.
I think that's the one that I read, but I was looking at that one first. I might just do that and then sand off Squire so people don't scoff at me.
I don't think anybody would scoff at you.
Well, this is, again, the same person that might put all of the reasoning behind using a P bass because of what it looks like, and it's called a P bass.
Sure.
That same type of person might say, oh, but it's a Squire.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, if you cover it or sand it off, nobody would give two craps.
Nope. So, I'm going to add that to the arsenal.
Which is sad.
It's so sad. It's really just uneducated in the most, like, I don't know. Ignorant always sounds so rude to me, but like that's the definition.
Yeah.
You don't know that. Yeah. You don't know that you don't know. Mm-hmm. But there's a pretty strong echo chamber that I think is getting kind of worn down in this era. But especially when we were coming up, it was so fiercely like, you don't play these types of things unless you're either like not good or just brand new.
Yeah.
You know? You wouldn't be caught dead playing a Squire in front of somebody. I think that's changing though. Okay. Got two basses. Got a whole rig.
With the 449?
Yep.
You have $400.
$400. I need some type of drive.
Do you need a compressor?
That's what I was going to say. I need a compressor and some type of drive. A DI would be cool, but not necessary because my Mark bass has a line out. What are some other things? Do I have to buy a tuner? Am I allowed to just, somebody gave me a tuner?
I mean, you can find clip-ons for like $20. I'll allow you to, or your phone could be a tuner.
That's super
if you
unreliable for bass.
Absolutely had to.
Yeah.
I mean, if you came to a session, I would probably expect you to have a tuner. So.
Okay. What is a cheapest tuner? Is Polytune still one of the cheapest
What was one of
tuner?
the ones that the Sticks guys told us? The clip-on strobe tuner.
Oh, I don't remember what they. I don't like clip-on tuners for bass. They're not reliable. In a pinch, you can use them, but if I'm needing to tune up for a session, I will not use a clip-on for bass. The Polytune is only $70. That's still the TU2's $50. These are all used prices, by the way. I could probably just get like a Mooer one. This one's $26. How much do I have? 400?
You have 400. Yeah, 400.
Oh man, I have to get a power supply as well.
You could do a
The one spot.
one spot and then jump it. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
only getting 3 or 4 pedals, you're not going to break the amperage.
Well, studios should have clean power. It gets a little bit dangerous in live venues if they don't have clean power. Oh, there we go. Korg Pitch Black. It's $45.
Okay.
I could save more on it if I need to come back and get like a Mooer or Amazon brand tuner. A tuner's a tuner's a tuner. They might have buffers built in. Doesn't really matter too much when I'm using an active bass in the first place. I used to own one of those Pitch Blacks. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world when they came out.
$330 left.
$330. I need a compressor.
Hardly know her.
Haha. And I could check out the used market and it would probably be fine. But did you say, like, am I on my way to a gig now and I need to?
No, but that would be extra intense.
Would be super intense. I was just going to say, used pedals can sometimes not be the most reliable thing in the world. I have a power issue with a dark glass pedal that I got used.
I have a power issue with the Tube Screamer that I got used.
Yeah. I brought this one up before, but dude, the SpectraComp bass compressor by TC Electronic is not praised nearly as much as it should be.
SpectraComp.
It is all software, so it's not an analog compressor, but it supports tone prints. It's a super simple one knob design, and you can kind of program what that one knob is controlling altogether. But tone prints is the TC Electronic software. You can get an app on your phone, and it has a bunch of libraries of presets, and you just put that phone up to your pickup. It plays a frequency, and the pedal picks it up, and it calibrates to whatever preset you have set up.
That's crazy.
Better yet, they have a full-blown app for like either Mac or Windows, and you can set every single parameter that you can imagine in a software compressor and create a preset off of it.
That's pretty cool.
$120 brand new. It's wild.
You got $220 left.
All right.
After this.
After this.
If you're including this.
I think I will. My current compressor, there are so many good bass compressors on the market. A lot of people love the Empress. I also love the Empress. I think price-wise, it's pretty high up there, but my go-to is the Wampler Ego, which is specifically supposed to be like a guitar compressor, but I really like the way it sounds on my rig right now. I can get one of those for $100.
Cheaper.
Well, it says there's one of these for $80. I knew that the used ones were cheaper. Yeah, $62. One from Japan.
Plus $30 to ship it.
Yeah,
And
and
$85 in free shipping.
it's true. Let's stick with a new one for now. If I need to start penny pinching, then I'll go back and find the used stuff. If I were doing this for real, I buy a lot of used pedals currently, but it's because they're not pedals that I have to have. Mm-hmm. I don't need them for my work. The ones that I have for my work, they function. So if I were in this scenario, truly, I would try to stick to new gear as much as I could.
Okay.
Because I need it to work.
Yeah.
Okay, I need a drive of some kind. My brain's declining. Those 2 packs of multivitamins must not be doing their job. Supposed to have nootropics. Microchip stuff is cool. Probably too high of a price. The Blooms just came out. Did you see this?
No.
So you're familiar with the Plumes, right? The
Yeah.
Earthquaker Devices Plumes. They just released a bass version. So it includes a lot more of that low end. I want to try it real bad.
So
it's only $100.
It's still like a Tube Screamer circuit, right? Or what?
I think Plumes is based on the Tube Screamer type of topology.
I mean, I could be completely off base here because it's one of our friends who has the Plumes pedal.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of reads like a Tube Screamer to me. I don't
I
know.
think so too. I think it doesn't do as much as the mid bump though. I don't know. I don't own a Plumes. I've only played some.
Only
of them.
reason I'm asking because like a Tube Screamer, it cuts the low end, and that's why you would push it into like a guitar cab to like tighten it up.
Mm-hmm.
But if
Screamer style.
okay, so removing that low cut kind of puts it in the realm of like Klon, where you still have passed through all that low end information.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's 3 modes on here. Interesting. I haven't used it, so I don't necessarily want to go for that, but I am very interested in trying that one out. This little dealio is really cool. The MXR M80 DI and bass distortion. Also don't like the flavor of distortion built in, but it's a super affordable DI if you need a DI. The cleans sound awesome. The pre's on it sound really good. One of the drives that I would really like to have, I wouldn't be able to get. It's by Pike Audio. It's a bass overdrive.
Pike Audio?
Pike Audio Vulcan.
$750.
Is that the XL?
Yeah. Oh, it says they go for like $150 to $244.
But none available.
I can't find one.
Yeah, they're pretty tough to get your hands on. That is a staple on my board though. I love that drive.
$229.
$229.
Everywhere is out of stock.
Yeah.
I've seen these before.
Yeah, you've seen it on my board. I've got that one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Just buy it from yourself.
It's burnt down. It burnt down.
Can I get you into the UA stuff?
Oh, dude. Great call. Great call.
Do they have drives, actually? I know they have comps.
They have a really good comp. I want to get the 1176.
Oh, definitely. This is totally speaking as an engineer, but if you like something like an 1176, all that happens with attack and release times. And you could get really dirty with that. Like, cause you
can drive with it.
I mean, if it's anything like an 1176, what is that dual?
You can drive. Okay. I remember reading up about this. So the dual is all based on like the Prince style drive where he would go direct into the board and then dual layer, like run through 2 1176s, and he would crank one of them to get all the drive and saturation and then use the next one for his actual compression, or vice versa.
Yeah, because I mean, the whole thing with old Yuri style 1176s is you can use them as a preamp because there was so much gain in the box itself.
Mm-hmm.
3 modes. Read that. I'm curious.
So 3 flexible modes. Single mode is perfect for giving your signal a subtle squeeze. We all know I like that. Much like running your guitar into a single 1176 LN hardware unit, dual mode replicates running your signal into 2 units wired in parallel for a thunderous compressed crunch.
Holy cow.
And lastly, sustain mode gives your solos the special something that always seems untouchable for anyone outside the professional studio.
Yep. I mean, it's literally the most used compressor, maybe outside of like an LA2A.
They have an LA2A pedal as well.
That would be
not as versatile, probably.
Well, I mean, it does the smooth thing, and you think bass in a context of a studio, I would probably put you on an LA2A. But if I'm thinking like versatility, you can do a whole lot of that stuff with an 1176.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you the added thing of also being like an overdrive.
Yeah, LA2A does have the limiter built in on the pedal.
Well, okay, here, you had 220. If I get rid of 120, you could almost buy both of those pedals.
That's true. That's if I get rid of my tuner and
compressors.
Yeah, maybe not the best move, and it'd be really cool to have both of them in the studio. What other pedals do they have here?
They don't just have like a distortion, do they?
I don't think so. I could use, and the amp model ones are way out of the price range. Let's put the 1176 on the list. I haven't personally used it, but I have wanted to get it. And the demo is only $180.
So you're gonna exchange that for the Spectra?
I think let's consider that as an option, because I do really like the idea of being able to have multiple flavors of drive on the board. Get the mini Tumnus for 150. It's just like a Klon replica. If you guys have a P-Bass and you haven't put it through a Klon style circuit, you need to go do it right away. It sounds so good. It sounds great. Oh, that reminds me. I didn't get flat wounds for my P-Bass. And at the top of this, I said I was going to include strings. Okay, flexibility. Maybe I don't go fuzz.
Okay.
Because that's more of a niche thing. Maybe I go dedicated drive. Ooh, color box.
That'll blow the budget.
It will, for sure.
What is the thing with the 3 Series stuff?
From what Josh Scott has said on his channel is he wanted to make something that was affordable, that gave people the ability to experience like the more well-known types of topologies that also has good build quality. To where you go to like Behringer has some really affordable pedals that sound pretty good, but the chassis breaks all the time.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. I need to make some choices. I'm just going to do it. I want to get their Screamer.
Okay.
That leaves me 50, right?
Yes.
So a 1 spot with the multi-plug is, I think it's going to set me back $30. Woof.
What's actually the power on that UA? Yeah, 9
Yeah,
volt.
just 9 volt. So all of my pedals are 9 volt. And the Pitch Black doesn't have like another power outlet the way like the Boss tuner does.
I wouldn't trust anything cheaper than 1 spot.
Yeah.
You just need
here we go.
Yeah, the daisy chain.
Bundle. Yeah. So 26. That leaves me 24.
I mean, you can go over a little bit like I did. So I feel like it's only fair. I mean, the spirit of it is here.
I need flat wounds for my P-Bass.
That'll blow it. Are you a labella guy?
I love labellas, but my go-to chrome or my go-to flat wounds have been the Diodario chromes. I say go-to, but I've bought 1 pack and I let them age, and they're great. How about Roto Sound? How much are those? These are also good flat wounds. Oof. What are my options here? Flat wound, bass. Do you think I can convince Sweetwater to just ship my new bass with flat wounds on them?
Actually, you probably could.
Unless it comes from the factory with other strings. And Sweetwater doesn't restring everything, do they?
They don't. They do like an inspection, but it might be something you could be like, hey,
help me out. My house just burnt down.
You, I'm buying $3,000 worth of stuff. Why don't you toss in a set of strings?
Those are ukulele strings.
It'll work.
Oh man, I could have just. Let's redo it. I'm getting a U bass.
A uke bass. Those actually sound really good.
They sound very cool.
I had somebody play in a church context with a uke bass, and I was like, this is going to be a nightmare. And I was actually pleasantly surprised the entire time.
Yeah.
It's like, this sounds really good.
Dude, that's great. They sound awesome. You can get cool, like almost upright types of sounds. They make, I've only played the hollow body ones, but they make like solid body versions as well. Pretty cool.
Well, when I say church context, it was like rock. Like it was big, full band.
Mm-hmm. Like contemporary church music kind of stuff.
It held its own. I mean, almost, I wouldn't even say contemporary as much as like rock.
And Salvation. The rock and Salvation.
They were getting it.
They were getting it done. Are we... The main point I want to drive home is flat wounds on a P-Bass is the creme de la creme of P-Bass sound.
That's what if a producer's asking for P-Bass, they're probably implying flat wounds.
Yeah. I personally like the Diodario chromes. The Deep Talking Bass by Labella are also really good. I've used the Roto Sounds before. They're not my first go-to favorites, but they can feel and sound very good. I like chromes the most out of all of them because they still retain a little bit of the brightness to them. So on a passive bass, you can still get some of the... I like having a little bit too much brightness and then dialing it back a little bit.
Okay.
As opposed to trying to pull it out on the back end.
Yeah.
Much more difficult in my opinion. So that's why I wanted to drive home. I would also need to get a strap and a cable.
So would you get are you saying you got the labellas?
No, I would get the chromes. I don't have the budget for it. But
the Dario chromes?
Yeah, they're $45 on here.
Well,
I know that I've gotten them cheaper before. All the strings right now look like the price is up, so maybe that's just something that's happening right now. Here's that's a short scale set. I also really like DR strings. I've never tried their flat wounds though. Another alternative is tape wound. They'll get you a slightly different tone and feel, but if you haven't tried tape wounds, those are also very much worth exploring. So that would put me, 25 over, something like that?
No, right now you're about $10 under.
Wait, did you add the power supply though?
I did not.
Yeah, that was I think the combo was $27 or $30 or something. That's why I was saying I was going to go over budget.
That makes sense. So yeah, that was 23. So right now you're $12 over.
That's not terrible. I could cut costs by getting some of these things used. I could get a used one spot for less. I could get used bases and save money too.
So, okay, but cable. Well, do you have any opinion on cable? Would you even care?
No, I mean, I like a straight jack on one side and a right angle on the other side. Don't buy into any of the jargon that says this is a bass cable. From my understanding, it means
Was it Monster
nothing.
that did that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, stay away from monster cables.
Yeah. I have a handful of them that they're only around because of the lifetime warranty, and I keep them in a box. When it's time to replace them, I take them and I get free ones. But I would not do that again.
I have a few monster cables for the same reason. One of which, truly, was my go-to cable for, 14 years or more. Still works. Never had to replace it. Built like a tank. And it was the Monster bass cable. It was my first cable I ever got.
Was the black one?
Yeah, all black.
I had the same thing.
Right angle on one side, straight on the other side. Metal for any part that wasn't just the cable. The reason I say to stay away, and this could have changed by now, but there was a period of time where the diameter of the jack wrecked the input, was just ever so slightly bigger than was supposed to be. And that is one of the reasons why I used that cable for so long on my first couple basses. Was
you had to.
Once
you started, you couldn't not use it.
Yeah, everything else was loosey-goosey. Other than that, though, I've used Megami. I know the folks from Tsunami Cables. I've used...
You do?
I've used expensive stuff. I've used really, really cheap stuff. I think you want to make sure you probably don't want to get the dirt cheapest ones when you're playing live. You want something that still has proper insulation. But outside of that, I don't think there's... The main thing I look at when I go get cable, if it's in a package, and I don't do this anymore because I know what cables I'm getting and stuff, and I have too many. But if you're shopping for cables and you don't know the brand or anything, open up the end, unscrew it, which might feel terrifying if you've never done it. It's fine. You can just pop it back on and look at where it's soldered. If there's nothing there retaining that, I would stay away from that cable because it will break very easily. Or
if there's burn marks on those solders.
Definitely stay away from that.
It should be clean. It should look nice. It maybe not necessarily like a factory did it, but when you see a messy solder joint.
Yeah.
Like it looks like a disaster.
Yes. And on the other end of the spectrum, if it's completely encased in some kind of plastic or gel or something to where you wouldn't be able to remove it and fix the solder if you need to, I would suggest also staying away from that. It might keep it alive a little bit longer at the beginning.
You can't repair it.
Exactly. Unless you chop off the end and then put another input, in which case you just could get any cable and do that. So Planet Waves is a pretty affordable brand. They have like a little plastic ring that goes around the inside, around the solder work, that you can just slip down and fix if you need to. The Diodario
stage stuff?
I think that's what it's called. Yeah. The Diodario has really cool options for building your own that I have used and have some in my home studio and on my pedal board.
I didn't like the solderless ones though.
That's what I have, and I will say I have had problems. The good thing about it is my problems were all just I needed to reseat it.
Yeah.
Screw back in.
Well, I just don't like that because it's I don't know. I like the Diodario cables that I have. I don't like any solder, regardless of what was it? There was another one. Was it Jay's or something? Or
like another brand that did the same thing?
Yeah, I have a few of them, like the tiny little tips.
The first ones I ever heard about that were Mogami, but Mogami stuff is outrageously expensive.
But it's a great cable.
Yeah. This is an extra little tidbit. One of the best things you can do if you have any type of like modding kind of, if you want to explore that at all, a really basic early one is cut off one of the ends of your instrument cable and get a
1/4-inch TS tips.
Yeah. Get a new TS tip that has a sleeve that you can push down, and it's just like a noiseless cable, but it has that like little magnetic sleeve. So when you unplug, it doesn't pop. You don't have to worry about turning your amp off. They're pretty cheap. Really, two wires that you solder on. It's a good little introduction into soldering and doing like a cool little mod, especially if you already have a broken cable.
Speaking of which, I need to order a new soldering iron. Mine's busted.
Oh no. To wrap up, no pun intended, to wrap up the discussion on instrument cables. Yeah, Diodario stuff. You can get is this a 20-foot? Yeah, 20-foot cable for $19, 10-foot cable for $15. And it's going to be just fine. Learn how to wrap your cables. Before you go out and spend $100 on a cable because you think it sounds better, you better know how to wrap your cable.
Man, we should make a video on that.
Yeah, that would be
shortest
good
video.
That would be good. That would be a good short, some educational, like, here's how to treat this properly.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. I think that's going to be it for this bass build. Let's give a...
Did you pick a cable?
I didn't know I needed to. I would probably just get
okay,
a
so
20
say
foot.
$20.
So, I need two. Because I have to go into my board and out my board.
Okay. So that's 32. So 3,052. That ain't bad.
It's over. I could shave, honestly, hundreds off if I went the used route for basses.
But with this, I mean, because did you get them both from Sweetwater?
Yeah.
So you know right out the gate they're going to be inspected and
yeah,
like they're going to work pretty well.
And I'm local, so I can go pick them up, and
you can.
I don't have to worry about them being shipped and needing to get reset up.
So you go to Mark Bass Tube 800, Ashdown 610 Neo and that's a solid rig. Sadowski 5-string JJ for 1,000. The Squire Classic 60s P bass, which those are killer. Despite Squire, and I'm a snob when it comes to logos, but that one doesn't bother me for some reason. The Korg tuner for 45.
There's better tuners, but it does its job.
1176 UA. The compressor pedal.
That also can get some drive out of it.
Yep. The JHS 3 series.
I went with the Screamer. Yeah.
Screamer.
Because I know what a tube screamer sounds like with bass. I like that sound. It's a really usable one.
Can't read my own handwriting.
Diodario Chrome. Those are my flat wound strings.
The flat wounds.
Yeah.
And then
to put on my P bass.
What was that? $20. Oreo's Pose.
One spot. One spot. Yeah. Oreo's Pose. We got the one spot because we got to power the pedal somehow. In the best case scenario, I prefer a power supply has isolated outputs and stuff.
I mean, that could be a quick upgrade. This will get you up and running just about anywhere. And then a couple cables. That's a solid rig.
Insane rig for $3,000. Just the amp and cab alone is $1,175, and that thing is a beast of a rig. The Sadowski bass, they're so good. They're so good. And I think that was a demo one that we got for $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff. All like usable long-term purchases that can be built on.
I mean, pretty versatile too. And I know you were talking about the Spectra Comp, which I can see how that's appealing, but the 1176, like you're actually turning knobs. The thing with that though, if you're actually turning knobs on something like an 1176, you would know if you went into a studio kind of what you would like.
This is true.
So, and not that you're always going to use an 1176 on bass, but if it's anything more than like a jazz session or like I could see like country. I mean, there's a fair bit of things you might use something like an LA2A or an optical style compressor with bass, but if you're anything rock or forward, like you can't go wrong with an 1176.
Yeah. The same thing that makes the Spectra Comp very cool makes it also almost borderline unusable in its full potential for a lot of people. And that being, you have the desktop app, which is what I would use to really dial in my compression. But if you don't know how to set that up or what it's actually doing, then it's useless to you. You're stuck with the pre-built presets, which some are pretty good, some of them not so much.
Well, I could see in a live context too, you'd have to pull your phone out and like hold it to change whatever you would want. But
yeah,
it is more versatile. But I mean, I suppose you could put your tuner after that pedal and then do it and nobody would know what you're doing. You're just holding your phone. I don't know. Two different styles, two different ways to think about it, I suppose.
If you're thinking about picking up any of this stuff, or if this was you and you had an extra $50 or $60, get a used Spectra Comp, try it out. If you haven't tried it out, super cheap investment. You might find one really specific type of compression that you built out of it that you really like and can't get from one of your other compressors. There you go. It's worth the money.
Well, how did that feel? You made me build 2 studios.
You did, or I did, yeah. As you can tell, my brain is... It felt hectic. I was surprised by not really knowing exactly what pieces I wanted right out of the gate, because I thought that's how it would go. Honestly, the $3,000 price point I think was a good price point, but I feel like it's more difficult than like an $1,000 price point because I have so many more options.
Yeah,
at $3,000,
you can go in so many directions. Like at this point, you're not just limited by budget and what's available. You're limited by preference.
Yeah,
like that can come into play now, and that's a good thing.
Yeah,
but we're also trying to do a whole lot with a budget. Like it's one thing to build a studio that's purpose built to do a certain job. Like we're trying to get you to do 2 different things here.
Right. And like I had mentioned earlier, if you had told me you're only gigging for this heavy band, my build would have been completely different and skewed in much different ways.
It's supposed to be versatile. You're a player who's hired for who knows what, who knows when.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to get the job done in multiple ways. And
and this would do it. You could play a jazz gig and then head next door and play a metal gig.
Oh, yeah.
And then head next door and play a country gig.
There's a lot of doors here.
Yeah. The only thing that's missing for a solo gig is a looping pedal.
The only place you lost me was a candy apple red.
I didn't pick it because I wanted it.
I get it.
It's not my color.
Still no
was the price. I wanted that lake green or whatever it was called, placid green or something. Yes. Very, very cool color. I like pastels. I really like non-gloss, like matte white. I've been going that direction a lot more lately. If I can't get just like an all natural Buckeye Burl or something, I really like a matte white finish.
What do you think?
What do you think?
Do you agree? Do you disagree with some of these things? What would you get? Tell him why he's an idiot.
Yeah, tell me why I'm dumb.
Or tell him why he's a genius.
I prefer that one. You're not a bass player in the professional sense, but you know how to play bass and you know some gear. Is there anything on here that you would swap out? And you don't have to think too hard. We're at the end of the video, but
I'd probably get rid of the 5-string JJ.
yeah.
I have a 4-string JJ. I would just go with a P bass.
How are you gonna play gospel gigs?
Oh, you still do it. I don't know.
You can't go and drop A on a 4-string.
All right.
Those gospel cats, they like drop A, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'm not the guy who would get called for a gospel gig. So
Yeah. Okay.
again, preference
and
skill level.
or just like where you shine the most, you know.
That is, gospel's not where I shine. I can mix it, but I cannot play it.
There's some cool stuff in that world.
I like the pedal setup, the cab. I dig the cab, but I would probably go with something smaller just because I would want something smaller.
A 610 is a burden to haul, and I did do the whole spiel of fitting it in my trunk. I think I could still squeeze a 610 in my trunk.
But at the same time, if you show up with a gig with a 610, again, perception shouldn't matter as much as it does, but you'd probably be perceived more professionally with that on stage as opposed to something like a 210. So
yeah, and I did that for a long time, and I did catch some shade in a few scenarios of having only a 210 with me, even though I was going into the house. But some people want it to look big on stage.
yeah,
You know, and the opposite has happened too. I've shown up to gigs with my current 410, and I, as a player, understand how to play quietly. But not everybody knows that. Not every engineer knows that the players understand how to use their gear in that way. So
they just assume you're going to be loud.
yeah. I've caught some shade of like, don't you have something smaller to bring? All that kind of stuff. But, you know, you prove them wrong with the first couple tunes and it's fine.
There you go.
Yeah.
If you've made it this far, what should it be? Do they have guitars?
They do. They have guitars.
Drop a guitar in the comments along with your opinions.
Yeah. You want to do any record recs? We're going to
I think I have one.
throw any in.
Heck yeah, man.
I'll start with mine.
Go for it.
So, sticking with the theme of bass and tone for bass players, I am going to go with Dirty Loops. I don't believe
Which record?
Oh, that's tough, man. All of them are so good.
There's one right answer.
Really?
Yeah. The first one.
The first one is ballin'. Their new stuff is very cool too, though.
I don't get into it as much, but I'm taking over your.
It's a little bit more of a journey, I think, for the new stuff. Honestly, though, if I had to pick one kind of one era of Dirty Loops, I'd pick the YouTube era.
Yeah.
Before their album, they were just doing covers.
Yep.
Let me backpedal a hot second. Dirty Loops, a trio from Sweden, jazz fusion with elements of pop and backgrounds and other styles that comes into this just amalgamation of absolute killers. Each one of them could be defined as one of the best in their specific instrumental lane and vocal lane. But their bass player, Henrik, if you don't know of him, you got to know of him. He's an absolute monster.
And it looks like he's not trying.
Really, the most effortless looking playing ever. I absolutely adore his tone, his creativity, the way he kind of has his vocabulary on the bass is really, really something to dig into and to check out, even if you're not a bass player. If you had to look at one thing, one of their earliest videos on YouTube was a cover of Justin Bieber's Baby. Mm-hmm. And in the middle, out of nowhere, is a sick, nasty bass solo that just rips. And it's so melodic and tasteful, but also technically advanced. Very cool stuff. You can pick any of their songs and you'll hear just acrobatics of musicality no matter where you go. So very much worth listening to and checking out live if you have an opportunity to. They're about to go back on tour this year, so they'll be in Chicago.
Uh-oh.
If you want to make a trip to Chicago. But that's my record rec, Dirty Loops.
Mine is to where yours is like happy and go lucky and feel good music. Mine's the opposite.
Okay.
I'm going with Russian Circles, and I can't narrow it down to one record, so I'm giving 2 records. It's either Station or Geneva. Okay. Station is a vibe and a half, but like it is instrumental, dark, like here, I'll just play some of it. Like instrumental post-rock in its heyday. There's no vocals. It's just a vibe when you're just wanting to like put your head down and like not be mad, but like be in a mood. This is the record.
That feels like an overcast day kind of vibe.
Very, yeah. This is like rainy day jog album.
Mm-hmm. But you're not doing it because you want to. You're doing it because your brain needs you to.
Yeah. Oh no, that's next week.
Oh, sneak peek.
All right. Russian Circles.
With that absurdly long build list for a $3,000 bass rig, that was fun.
A lot of thought.
Let us know if you guys thought it was fun. If you want something similar, different price bracket, different use case, or different world entirely. It seems like you guys like the build videos and build list videos, so let us know what you really think. Don't make me assume, because you know what that means.
And go like them and comment on them and share them, because if you do like these and we help us get these out, we can actually build these.
That is an aspiration of ours. Get this gear in hand, do some demos of it.
So subscribe.
And like. And make friends in the comments. That's starting to happen and we like it. Let's make this little community of cool folks being nerdy about gear.
Because you're all little phantom power ghosties.
Oh, yeah.
To us.
We are ghosties. And with that, goodbye. Little ghost friends.